Well, it's been a while since I shared anything about my 1974 455 Trans Am. And truthfully, I really haven't done much with it. Once I finished the engine compartment, I didn't really drive it much. I didn't like the look of the car. The wheel gaps were too big. I thought it looked like a pickup truck. So it mostly just sat in the garage. Well, now I'm ready to get back to work on the car. I'm going to work on the bottom of the car. I'm going to fix that problem with the huge wheel gaps. I'm going to put all new suspension in it. I'm going to lower the car about 3 inches. And while I'm underneath the car, I'm going to get a new fuel tank, new fuel system, all new brake lines. We're going to redo the brakes. I'm going to clean and paint the bottom of the car. So there's going to be a whole lot of work going on. First thing I did is I got the car up on the lift and I got ready to disassemble the back of the car. The suspension, the fuel system's coming out, brake lines, all that stuff's coming out, so we have pretty much a clean canvas, so to speak, in the back. One of the first things I did was remove the rear springs and along with the springs, all the associated hardware. The springs were Summit stock replacement springs. I listed them on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist for $10, and I didn't get any takers, so I set them out for the metal recycle guy, and he took them. Once I had the springs out, I set the axle tubes on some jack stands, and propped up the front of the rear end by placing the yoke on some wood blocks. I'm 64 and I'm no longer strong enough to lift the rear end out, so I'm just going to have to work around it. The car had a pretty nice 2.5-inch exhaust system. Obviously the tailpipes were custom bent, and unfortunately the pipe bender used the upper anti-sway bar brackets for mounting the tailpipes. And so I'll have to cut the pipes up, and I won't be able to reuse the tailpipes because I'm going to put an anti-sway bar back in the car. What I'm going to do initially is I'm going to cut the tailpipes off, maybe an inch or two past the exit of the muffler, and I'm just going to put some turn downs there. Having a set of 2-inch hookers, a 2.5-inch diameter pipe to a set of Flowmaster 40s, and turn downs, the car's going to rumble. After a quick examination of what I got going on under the car, it doesn't look too bad. The car was bought new in Tennessee and spent most of its life in Georgia and Texas, so it was never exposed to snow. After getting the springs and the gas tank out, I wanted to get the exhaust out of the car, and it's a welded system, so I had to cut the tailpipes off. I'm going to reuse the exhaust system from the collector flanges past the mufflers. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to cut the tailpipes off, maybe at 2 inches past the exit of the muffler, and I'll put some turn downs there. The rest of the tailpipes I got rid of. I did cut off the chrome exhaust tips, and I saved those. Overall, the bottom of the car looks pretty decent. I do have some minor rust issues to deal with, and I'll get to those in a little bit. I'm getting ready to start cleaning the bottom of the car, and I know I'm going to make a mess, so I covered up my Rally 350 to try to keep from trashing it. Well, the first thing I did is I took a 36 grit sanding wheel and hooked it up to my angle grinder and went in there and cleaned all the old undercoating out of the wheel wells. And man, what a mess. I mean, just made a tremendous mess. After cleaning up the driver's side wheel well, I found a little bit of rust in the back of the wheel well, and that'll have to be repaired. That's the whole reason for doing this, is I clean all the old undercoating out. I can see exactly what I have going on in there. Just like the passenger side, cleaning out all that old undercoating, it just makes a tremendous mess. I knew I had a spot in the trunk floor pan that had rusted through, and I'm sure what happened is the weather stripping went bad and it just leaked water. And when water got in the trunk, it just sat there. And here, looking at it from the bottom of the car, you can see how it looks there. Another rust spot I have is the trunk floor extension panel on the driver's side. The rear of the driver's side wheel opening and the quarter panel had been repaired sometime in the past, but they didn't bother to repair the extension panel for the trunk. I plan to cut out the rust and then install a replacement panel, patch panel. I've gotten started on cleaning parts. And here I have one of the front spring perches in a tub, and then I'll fill the tub with Evapo-Rust and get all the surface rust off of the part. So after soaking in Evapo-Rust for a couple days, it cleans the part up pretty well. I'll hit it with a wire brush and it'll be ready for some POR 15. I painted a bunch of the parts of POR 15, and here I got them out in the sun, drying. And I cleaned all the hardware, painted the hardware with just some spray paint, cleaned the rubber parts. Now, the rear shock's looking spiffy and ready to install. Spring perches coated in POR 15, and they're ready to use again. I'm back to work on the 74 455 Trans Am. This part of the project's going to take a little while. There's a lot of cleaning, a lot of painting, there's some rust repair. But we're going to install a whole bunch of new parts. It's going to give the car a whole new attitude when it's sitting about 3 inches lower. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll hope you join me for the rest of the project.